What is up, Hawkeye fans? This is going to be the immediate post-game reaction to the 16-13 Iowa Hawkeye loss to the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm not able to record behind my computer right now. I might do like a day after video. We'll see. Here's my initial thoughts. Normally, I would be very pessimistic and that was my immediate reaction was to say to myself, this is classic Iowa, another, 7-5, 8-4 type season. They can't even beat Iowa State, even though for what it's worth, it's not necessarily correlated. When Iowa beats Iowa State, they have a great season, or if they lose, they have a, mediocre to average. It really varies. There was the Brad Banks year, for example, where Iowa lost to Iowa State, and obviously, so it really just depends. It really depends on how your team responds and moves forward. Previous years, that would be my reaction, because Iowa State was pretty limited as a football program. But that is not how it is anymore. Iowa State, for what it's worth, quite frankly, I hate to say it, and it's taken me a while to admit this, but they are a pretty even program to the University of Iowa. And I would even say at this point, they are the top program in the state of Iowa. If you look at the results, last year to this year, if you were to go back maybe 2-3 years, I think it would still be in favor of Iowa. But if you're doing more recent, the most recent head-to-head, it kind of belongs to Iowa State, I still think overall I would give it to Iowa, but it's as close as it has ever been. And I would probably, again, recency, I would give it to Iowa State as far as results and head-to-head goes. But there's a difference between on the field, but also, taking a more meta perspective, including recruiting and NFL draft picks and stuff like that. But this year, I don't, Iowa State is a decent team. They're 3-0. It remains to be seen how good they are. And this was a home game for them. They should have won this game. They were favored. They were at home. They were the ranked team. But I also think, being an Iowa fan, being completely honest, a lot of the pressure was on Iowa State. And credit to them for making this happen. They jumped out. They had a 13-3 lead over Iowa. I don't think Iowa started the game particularly well. So that's kind of my initial thoughts. I don't think that this season is over. This loss stings. Iowa State is much better than what they've been in the past. This is not a bad loss. It's on the road. It's against a ranked team. It's a rivalry game. Now, that's more meta. If I look at Iowa in a vacuum, their game against Albany and their game against Iowa State, it's very much a mixed bag of results. And I think the game against Iowa State is probably more representative. And so a couple of things. In years past, Phil Parker's defense has been so effing good that they have almost been able, past 2015 CJ Beathard and, the Nate Stanley years, they have been able to single-handedly beat Iowa State, who was most of the time either average or below average, much like the rest of the programs that Iowa was able to beat. These mediocre, average, below average teams, Iowa's defense was so effing good that they were able to steal games at times and win certain games. This year and last year, so far, I don't think that that's been the case. And thinking about last year mostly, Iowa's defense, and it's very hard to be critical of Iowa's defense at all, but you have to call a spade a spade. Like, Iowa's defense has largely still been elite. It's still been very, very good. But there's a difference between being elite, good, great, and being like game changing. Like that, like upper echelon good, where you are affecting and winning games. You're so good. And mainly what I'm talking about is takeaways and, making defensive plays. Now, again, credit to Iowa State. They played a pretty clean game, minus the fumble. But it's been a while, and Matt Campbell, I think, has it down pat. He's like, listen, we're going to make you guys beat us. We are not going to beat ourselves. We're done trying to play into your guys' game, this bend don't break defense, where we beat ourselves. Which I'll come back to that momentarily with regards to the deciding to kick a field goal 4th and 2 for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But I think that it's been a decent length of time now where Iowa just has not been that defensive ball club. They've been great. They've been good. They've been elite at times, top 20 in major statistical categories, but they don't have that like added flavor that's just like, wow, this defense is something else, whether it be sacks, whether it be fumbles, turnovers, interceptions. You remember the year where Iowa was leading the country in takeaways in back-to-back years or it was close to back-to-back years. They had Desmond King, they had Micah Hyde, Desmond King, Josh Jackson, and these guys, had 5, 6, interceptions a year. And they, just ball hawks all over the field. And I feel like it's been a while since Iowa has had, it's been at least a year and a half, or a year and some change now, since Iowa's had that defense. Since they've had those corners, since they've had that secondary. So that's my thought on the defense. Now, with all of that said, the defense still played well enough for Iowa to win this football game. They did. The game was 13-13 with 6 minutes to go in the ball game. That is more than enough. Like, what, the offense, what more could you ask of your defense? It's like, here you go. Like, there, like, all of that said, what more can you ask of your defense? Honestly. 13-13, 6 minutes to go. Like, you're in this ball game. Like, they have kept you in this game. So, again, credit where credit is due. Like, they had done enough for Iowa's offense to make plays and win this ball game. Iowa's offense. So that's Iowa's defense. I'm not really concerned about it. I'm just trying to be fair. Iowa's offense, the run game, solid. I think they had 134 yards rushing, more than enough. But we just don't have that complementary football. And I said that if Gronowski did not take a major step forward. I said this in my game preview, which I was wrong on my game prediction. Just because, honestly, guys, as an Iowa fan, like, I'm always gonna lean towards Iowa if it's a toss-up game. Like, did I think that Iowa State had a decent chance of winning? Of course, but again, I'm gonna lean towards Iowa if I think it's a toss-up game. I said that Iowa's run game was going to have a massive game if they were going to, have to single-handedly carry this offense. And for the most part, they did. Like, I mean, they didn't single-handedly carry, but they still played well. But they had to do that because Iowa's pass game, with the exception of a drive and a few spots here or there, the pass game was ineffective. And we're in year 2, and this is why I told everybody, pump the brakes on Tim Lester. We need to see him have a complete offense. We need to see improvement in the pass game, because if there's not, it's largely the same thing from what we have seen in years past. It has been years since Iowa has had an average passing game. And it's hard, guys. As an Iowa fan, it is so hard. Like, do you guys remember the Ken O'Keefe days, the Greg Davis days? Like, as an Iowa fan, it's like, man, can we go back to those days? Like, that seems so long ago. That seems so far away. Seems like another lifetime ago. But the pass game, guys, just isn't there, and there were plays to be made. I think Gronowski largely, did his best. He missed some plays, which, I will review, if I do another reaction to this, because there's clips that get dropped. And probably in my game preview for the next game, it's just not good enough. He gets antsy in the pocket. He doesn't, he's not taking what's there sometimes when he needs to. He's pressing too much when he doesn't need to. Like, it's just that rhythm that's when you're talking about a quarterback and quarterback IQ, that is what we're talking about. And I think Mark Gronowski is largely getting used to being back from injury, and he's getting used to the game of the speed of the game, and especially against a team like Iowa State, like, that feel for the game right now is just not there. He didn't play terrible. Again, he made plays on the ground, but as a passer, it's very average. It's below average, actually. And that is hard to stomach. I expected better than this. It's really rough, guys, because Iowa's wide receiver group is a year older, a year improved. They all off season, we had this, and this is why I tell you guys, don't buy into the preseason hype, guys. Like, relax. When I'm the only YouTuber that does Iowa Hawkeye content creation that says this, I always tell you guys, be careful when it comes to the kids' day practices. You see what they want you to see. All these narratives that start to be built, like, you have to be careful with what you start to buy into. Number one, they're trying to angle for Tim Lester to become the Iowa head coach. Number two, they're trying to get you excited for the football season, so you read their stories, so you buy the merch, so you subscribe to the subscription clubs, so you buy tickets. That is what they're trying to do. There's very few Hawkeye content and any college team But a lot of you guys don't understand this because a lot of you guys are boomers and like just go with the legacy media and, you know, legacy this and that. And so you're just, you know, you'll just take it and whatever. But be more than that. Like I'm telling you, they are not Iowa fans, a lot of them. And they will say what they need to say in order to get you, you know, hyped up and rejuvenated for the season. It is literally that simple. So I always tell you guys, just wait and see. Let's wait until the football season starts. We've seen this before. And I even saw on Facebook, there was like this meme that was posted, you know, terrible season, off season happens, news and articles get written to get us hyped up about the quarterback and the wide receiver and the improved offense. Game one happens. It's done. Quarterback's terrible. Offense is terrible. We come back to earth, and then we just do this cycle over and over and over again. And honestly, there's a lot of truth to it. You know, Mark Gronowski may, and this is why I'm still optimistic for this season, because I don't think he is a bad quarterback. But up until this point, that is what it has been until proven otherwise. You know, I always say, be cautiously optimistic. And it has not been enough. You know, you look at the other side, Rocco Becht. Like, Rocco Becht wasn't perfect, but he was still better. In the quarterback battle, he was still better. You know, he had more yards passing. He had a touchdown to 0 interceptions. You know, whereas Gronowski, he's not even over 100 yards passing. He throws an INT. That's the difference in the game right there. You know? So that's pretty much it, guys. Like Iowa, you know, just to bring this home even closer, you know, did Iowa have chances to win the game below 6 minutes? Yes, they could have, you know, made plays. Their you know, final minute and a half. That's a lot of time, guys. A minute and a half for most offenses is a lot of time. For Iowa, it's not enough time, but for most offenses, that is a lot of time. And a good football team, a top 25 football team, they will make you pay with leaving that much time on the clock and score points, at least get a field goal. Now, again, Iowa State's defense is a good defense. But you can't tell me, you know, other top 25 football teams, if there is that much time on the clock, they are making that team pay for leaving that much time on the clock, and they're going to find a way to make it happen and score. You know, a gamer quarterback is going to find a way, just like Rocco Becht did last year. Just like he did this year. So there were plays, you know. Iowa had that, what was it, 3rd and 2? I can't remember if it was 3rd and 2 or 4th and 2. I think it was 3rd and 2. And Xavier Wampa came a little too high in the box. It was a great effing play call by Iowa State. Gutsy, ballsy, all stuff I wish Iowa did. You know, Xavier Wampa comes too low in the box, and that is a winning football play. Like having the courage to make that play, have that drawn up for that moment right there, and they executed. You know, there was the tip pass Iowa doesn't come up with. So the final thing, because I don't want to keep this going too long, I do have to get going, is the 4th and 2. I'm not against Iowa kicking the field goal. You have a great field goal kicker, one of the best field goal kickers in the country. But if you're Iowa and you have the defense that Iowa has, and you're that close, it's like, why not? You know, I hope they at least considered it. Like, I'm not against them kicking the field goal, but it's like you're on the road. You have the momentum. Like, I would hope that Iowa has something available for that moment. And like, that's a moment that you can call to drastically change the momentum of the game and on the road and take that game and win it. You know, put your foot in Iowa State's throat and get that 4th and 2. I'm getting too animated. But, again, I'm not against the decision per se. I'm just saying, again, do you guys remember the whole Kirk Ferentz 2.0, the Kirk Ferentz 2.1, Kirk Ferentz is, he has gone back to the mean. He has gone back to, classic Kirk Ferentz. That's a classic Kirk Ferentz decision to kick a field goal right there. Am I wrong? That is a classic Kirk Ferentz decision to kick a field goal right there. So, Iowa, again, largely played not to lose, and they lost. Iowa State played that for much of the day, except for in strategic moments. They like to look, they liked their personnel, they liked their chances, and they were the ones that put the shoes on Iowa's throat and made the play. So that's it, guys. I will admit, as somebody who has been doing this for 4 years now, it is getting harder and harder and harder to create content for Iowa because it's just so mundanely average. It's like, it's been a while since I've truly been excited. Like, I was somewhat excited this year just because of the new quarterback, but it's getting tough, guys, because it's much of the same. We're always like right outside the top 25 at most. We're like, 26, 20, 23rd, 22nd. And it's like, okay, so it is becoming harder and harder because to be a content creator, you have to consistently put out the content on time. And it's like, I'm always asking myself, is it really worth it? At this point, and that's a question I'm starting to ask myself. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and last but not least, DBAP. Don't be a pussy willow and facts or feelings, because your feelings don't matter. Final thought, I don't think that the season is over, but again, Iowa, much like we've seen in previous years, needs to make some changes. If they don't, it's going to be the same as it always is. Average, at times slightly above average, but mostly average football. All right, Hawk fans, I'll see you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.